CEO of LaurelRutledge.com, the creator of the Rutledge Perspective podcast, and now I am the host of the Rutledge Perspective on KCOH TV, The Boost, and I am so excited. In human resources and also in business and consulting has given me the opportunity to share information with all of you. And what we're going to do is talk about the foundational pieces, whether or not you're building a business or you're building a career. It all comes down to strategy and people. If you don't know where you're going, how do you know who needs to be on your team? So please join me, join in the conversation, catch the show both on the radio, on the app, and also on Facebook. And I will be on Tuesdays from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. Thank you so much for listening. I look forward to seeing you there.
Good morning, everybody. It's Tuesday. I love Tuesdays. I love Tuesdays. And so we are here to talk it out. So, and we'll start with our public service announcements. And so there is only one primary today, and it's in Delaware. So Delaware, go do your thing. Isn't Biden Delaware? I think he's Delaware. So make sure you go vote in Delaware. And census. So my census 2020.gov. If you have not filled out your census, please go do that. Please go do that. It is so important to get counted. And there is no citizenship question on there. There are multiple languages when you go. If you go online, it takes 10-15 minutes. That's it. They do have it in a lot of languages. So please go fill out your census. It's so important for our funding, for schools, for roads, for healthcare. It's really important for us to make sure that we get counted. So back to voting. So I got my sparkly vote pin on because voting is important. So make sure, there was this event last week, I think it was, and I was all excited because it was a remake of the Golden Girls with an all-black cast. Mm-hmm. And then I was a little disappointed because it was just like a table reading. We thought it was actually going to be the show. I sent it to a bunch of people. We thought they were going to redo the show. But the premise is really good because they start and they talk about a key issue. So this one was all around the census and trying to make sure people remembered, answer the census, make sure you get counted. They're giving out all kinds of information. I don't know what they're doing next, but it was actually really interesting because it was Regina King, Alfred Woodard, Tracy Ellis Ross, and was it Sanaa Lathan? I can't remember. But there were four of them. It was actually really good. So the whole point of me even bringing that up today is there are so many people working hard to get you educated and to help you educate other people. This is such an important vote. I think there's another event that's happening tonight or sometime this week with Michelle Obama. The whole point, again, helping to get people registered, helping people to understand the voting process. They're targeting first-time voters and young voters because the process can be intimidating because you have to know where to register and what you need and all that kind of stuff. Good morning, Longview. So they're really working hard to try to make sure people understand how and where and why to vote. So speaking of how, make sure you are registered. Double check your site. I'm going to start posting some stuff on my site because we are less than 50 days now, I think, from the election. Yeah, because it's September 15th and the election is on November 3rd. So I'm going to start posting some stuff on my website or on my page around voting and how to vote and where to vote and all that kind of stuff. I will be getting it from the most reputable sources that I can find, like .gov sources. So, I will be putting it out. A ton of people are putting it out. I think Yolanda Jones just put out something for Harris County and for Texas around voting. The stadium, like NRG and the Toyota Center, and there are several others around Harris County that are going to actually open up during early voting to be early voting centers. So even though there's this attempt to suppress the vote, North Carolina, Georgia, and I believe it's Arizona are kind of the four states that they're working really hard for voter suppression. There are other forces at play that are working hard to ensure your vote is not taken from you. So make sure you pay attention. Go to one of these places. Vote early. Vote early. Take your ID, take whatever you need to vote early, because it's really important. Voting is essential. I think that was a commercial a long time ago. Voting is essential or something like that. So make sure you vote. Make sure you get educated. I'm starting to see more commercials, but there haven't been a lot of like political commercials this time either, which is highly unusual.
Money.
Yeah, it is money. It's just really weird, which actually makes my spirit feel a little bit better, because after a while, all those political commercials can be a lot. So
I've got money though. He's gonna have a lot more.
Yeah, he's been raising a lot of money. So please, even though you're not seeing commercials, which we shouldn't just believe the commercials anyway, go get educated, decide who it is you want to vote for, understand the issues that are important to you, and vote accordingly. Okay? So let's talk. Oh, there will be some save the dates coming out. My next webinar is going to be October 12, 13, and 14, 6 to 7:30 p.m. Central Time. This is going to be the 5 secrets to rebuilding your team, career strategy edition. Because whether you're building a business or building a career, it's all about strategy and people. So we're going to talk about that. October 12, 13, 14, 6 to 7:30, $97 for the 3 days, and I'm going to be giving away some stuff. So I got some bonuses to work with me. I got some bonuses that I'm going to give away, actually a 3-month coaching package or personal advisory package. So there's some good stuff you could win, y'all.
That's good.
Plus it's good information, and I would love to have you there. Okay, so let's talk vision and alignment. So here's what's been happening, and Jerry and I were talking about this before the show started. How if things don't feel right, you know something's not aligned. So probably over the last, really since I started this, probably a couple of years before I left corporate, things just weren't feeling right. Things that even if I didn't like to do them, didn't take as much energy to get stuff done, were just starting to be chores. It was just hard to get stuff done. And then even getting my business running, really trying to get that message out, get focused on what it is I wanted to deliver, who I wanted to serve, all of that kind of stuff. For the most part, really aligned, but there were some things that I was asked about or asked to do or told I should do and things like that just didn't feel right. They just didn't feel right. And I didn't have energy around them and couldn't seem to get them done and didn't have focus, like my creativity went, just all kinds of stuff. And I kept thinking and talking and asking, saying, what is wrong? You know, the first thing, right? What is wrong with me? I cannot understand why this is so hard. Don't understand why this is so hard. I work so hard for all these other people. Why can't I work that hard for myself? Right? So it's that whole ownership at a whole different level. And so I started thinking probably last week, I thought this is just not aligned. And so I ended up reading a post that somebody put out. And y'all know, again, I'm all about strategy. All about strategy. Make a plan. Proper prior planning prevents poor performance. Make a plan. Well, I read this post, somebody who's an entrepreneur, and she said, and her argument was that that's not how you build. Now, she was talking about building a business. That it's not about strategy. Not about strategy at all. That it's really about alignment. Because if you're not aligned, you're not going to be able to be successful. And I sat with that a minute because, again, when I get in these places, if I will sit still and listen actively, there's always a little God wink that comes that says, Laurel, come on now. Either I got this or you got this or we got this or you need to let that go or whatever it is. And so I sat with that and I thought, well, now I can't say that I agree with her because you got to have a plan. However, the point about understanding your vision and being aligned with that so that you have energy around it was really on point. And I kind of had to sit with that a minute because I thought maybe that's why some of these things that I keep trying to make myself do and that are taking so long is because it's just not, it's not aligned with where my spirit is. It's not aligned with where my heart is. And what am I missing? You know, as I said last week, when you're holding on so hard to stuff, so hard to things that you shouldn't be holding on to, you don't make room for the stuff that's meant for you. You got to let stuff go. And so I started really thinking about what is it that maybe I'm holding on to? What is it that's getting in the way? Why is this not aligned? Because I'm all about moving, being aligned, being in service, all that kind of stuff. As you guys have been listening to me, that's my jam. That's where my spirit is leading me. So then on Sunday, I joined this virtual event, which is fantastic. It's the Brilliant event. It's put on by one of my coaches and her team. And it's usually in California in June. And so, of course, with all the COVID thing, we had to change it. And so it's now virtual. And it's excellent, actually. And she has some really great speakers. And so Sunday, there was so much going on, I couldn't really join much. But then yesterday, there was a speaker, and the speaker, there were a number of speakers, but Ricky Hughes spoke yesterday. She's an Emmy-winning and Grammy-winning producer. And her story is she was actually getting ready to go to med school. And someone approached her when she was in New York and was like, hey, do you know, we're getting ready to do this thing. Do you know any up-and-coming artists, blah, blah, blah. And she's like, well, yeah, I know these people. And she said, I just knew them. What she told us was she knew them because they all grew up together. Like, I think she went to high school with Regina King and Nia Long. And so they were all kind of together. And long story short, she actually got offered. She told these people about this. And she got, that was the folks, Snoop Dogg, and I think it was Warren G, ended up doing the soundtrack. That's when soundtracks were really big for Poetic Justice. And then she said, they came to her and said, look, we got all these young artists, you know, but they've never been outside of LA, LA proper, never. And now we're getting ready to go on the road and we're getting ready to do all these things. How would you feel about coming on the road and helping us manage this? She said, I've never done that before. You know, that wasn't something that was in my spirit. And plus, my parents were spending all this money for me to go to med school. And she said she talked to her parents. And she said my dad was one of those, you know, just go for it kind of people. My mom was one of those, no, you need to get a good job with benefits. She said, so I didn't know what I was going to get. And she went and talked to them, told them about it. And they said, look, this is a chance for you to travel around the world and get paid to do that. You can always go back to school. You can defer your enrollment, all that kind of stuff. You can go back to school. So long story short, she is now the Ricky Hughes. Well, as she was talking, because again, you know, I believe that God knows what we need when we need it, and it shows up when we need it. Mm-hmm. I'm still in this space, right, of, okay, something's not aligned, something's not right. What is the problem this morning? Or these last few weeks. And then she said, among many things, she said, one of the things that is really important that I tell people as you are trying to decide what you're going to do and where you're going to do it and how it's going to work and all that kind of stuff is, and you're going to love this, Jerry, don't make Friday night 5 p.m. deals. Because it was there on Friday night, it'll be there on Monday. And if it was meant for you, it'll be for you. And I thought, well, now. Because how many times, especially if we're new in a job, or we are starting a new business, whatever it is that's new for us, how many times do we just say yes because we're afraid to say no? Right? We're afraid to say no they're going to think I'm not a team player. I may not get another chance. They're actually going to pay me and nobody else will pay me. Number one, not all money is good money, y'all. So, but that whole idea of don't be forced into making a deal just because somebody else is 5 p.m. Friday night. As I always say, poor planning on your part does not constitute an emergency on mine. So that was the first thing she said. Friday night, 5 p.m. deals. Don't make those. The other thing she said, and Jerry, I thought about you when I wrote this down. She said, I wait for a yes. I'm like, that's Jerry Beasley.
That's Jerry Beasley, baby. Oh.
Wait for a yes. She said, and don't let anyone else make you say yes. She said, so if it's not a yes for you, it's just not a yes, and it's okay. Because there is something about it that is not aligned with where you're supposed to be or what you're supposed to be doing or how it's supposed to go. And so that was the second thing she said. I wait for a yes. And in that she said, and don't forget what Oprah said, I think she said if there's doubt, don't. Right? So if you doubt it, don't do it. So that was the the second thing that she said. The other thing she talked about was when you show up for something, you make sure you have set your intent when you go into that meeting. Because otherwise, someone else is going to set your intent for you. And I had never thought about that. And it was so good. I mean, she talked about showing up. She's in this very highly male, white male dominated industry. And she's like, I would show up, one of the guys, I had my sweats on, all this kind of stuff. And one of the people that she worked with and was represented was Sharon Osbourne.
Ooh.
And at one point, Sharon told her, you need to own who you are and show up how you want to show up, because they'll get used to it or not. So don't not do you because you're afraid of how it's going to come across. Because if they can't hear you or see you because you are in heels, she's like, you're beautiful, you got a great body, you dress how you want to dress. And she said, if they can't hear you because you got on heels, that's about them, not about you. And so all of these things started happening, and I thought, you know what? That whole idea of vision and alignment is like even more fundamental than strategy. It's even deeper than strategy, right? So you can plan all day long. What is it? People plan, God laughs.
Mm-hmm.
You can plan all day long. But if what you are going after is not aligned with your purpose, it's not aligned with your heart, it's not aligned with where you are wanting to go or where you're supposed to go, then it's not going to work. You're going to feel that disconnect. You're going to feel that stress. You're going to feel that pull or that lack of energy because it's not aligned. It's not aligned. And so I would say even though I still believe strategy is critical, you can't just go out there and throw, well, you can. It's not as effective just throwing spaghetti against the wall, right? But if before you even start thinking about where you want that plan to be and where you want to go, dig deeper and say, what is it I'm trying to do and why? Why is this important to me? Why is this something I want to do? Why is this somewhere I want to be? Why is this something I believe is my calling? And then once you know that and you are very clear on why you're doing what you're doing and why you're doing it, then everything that comes across your path, you can vet up against that and decide, am I doing that or am I not? Is that a yes or is that a no? Every single time.
Can I say this one thing?
Yes.
When you said about the wait for a yes,
Mm-hmm.
it took me right back to when you came here with Adrian to do the Ben Hall Legal Hour.
Yes.
And I remember I was working the boards. I produced for the Ben Hall Legal Hour. And when I met you, I was like, blah,
Yeah.
blah. So then while y'all were talking, I said,
Mm-hmm.
yes. And you didn't ask me anything, but
Right.
I said yes. And I'm like, why am I saying yes? And God says, because you prayed about what type of show
Right.
you wanted to program, and she fits the bill.
Mm-hmm.
He told me yes, but apparently you would listen.
Right. Now
went,
you
"Hey,
know I
Lord,
got
you good?"
issues.
And you know I got issues too, because I hate to be told no. Let me
Right.
get back with you. Like, I'm Jeremy Beasley. So when I came to you and I said, this is an idea, you want to do a show here, you said,
Right.
But I had to think about this
Right.
because I said, God, I know you told me
Yes.
yes, and I didn't even ask you about her.
Right.
You just said yes, take yes to her to do a show here.
Yes.
And you came along, but you came along a little later.
Yes.
But it didn't mean it was not a yes.
Exactly. Because the other thing, and I'm so glad you said that example, because the other thing she talked about is if you are struggling with a yes or a no, first examine, is that fear talking? If it's fear, you need to push through that. If it is something else that's deeper, then yeah, you need to go with your gut around the yes or the no. But if it's just fear, you need to keep it moving, right? You need to keep it moving. Just say it. There's something in your spirit that says that's a yes. And when it's aligned and when it's a yes, it all happens. And what's funny about what Jerry says, that is so true. And I tell people that story all the time. In fact, I'm supposed to be talking to this group today, and I'll be telling that story most likely. And what was interesting is I left here, I went to an event, and we were talking about visibility. So you guys are seeing me on the radio. I never thought I would love this as much. I love it. I love being here with you guys. I love chit-chatting. I love your comments. It jazzes me up. It wears me out, but it jazzes me up. And so I had told myself in January of 2019, my intent for the year was to get more visible than 2019. And I ended up doing a couple of things, doing the show with Adrian, and really putting myself out there, being more visible, which didn't take much to be more based on what I was doing, more visible on social media. And so when Jerry asked me, I was like, oh, wait, I know I said I was going to be more visible, but see, that made it real. And I remember going to this event later and talking to a couple of my coaches, and there was an individual coaching session with our media coach. And she was saying, okay, let's talk about how we, get you on TV and get you on radio and get, all these things, and where you don't, not the pay to play stuff, but, make sure you're an expert and people see you. And so we're talking. And she said, and do you know people? And I'm like, yeah, I've gotten a chance to meet, one of the anchors is here, Jose Grignon, who's really cool. We've been on a couple of panels together, and my friend Joy is at the Houston Chronicle. I said, oh, and I got asked to do this show on the radio. She's like, why am I talking to you? What is wrong with you? I said, well, I didn't really say yes yet. And she's like, so your homework is as soon as we hang up, you're going to send an email and say yes. And I did that very day. I'm like, hey, Jerry, if it's still open, I'd love to talk to you about it. And so, so it really was a yes. That was fear talking. That was fear talking. And so, and the reason it stayed in my mind is because it was absolutely aligned with what I said I wanted and where my spirit is leading me. But my fear, right? My brain got in the way. Instead of listening to my heart, I was listening to my head. Now, you got to listen to your head sometimes too, because your head keeps you from doing stupid stuff. I'm going to say that again. You got to listen to your head too, because you don't want to do stupid stuff. However, you can't always let your head overrule your heart, because sometimes something is just heart-led. It is just what is in your spirit and what needs to happen. It just is. It just is. And so that whole idea of really sitting and aligning and being willing to be aligned is really critical. It's really critical. I forgot to ask who we have on. I don't have many people on today.
We have a new listener. It's Tawana Shepherd Charles. She's the hit star of my hit gospel stage play, When Mama Prays. So I'm glad to have her on here today.
Welcome.
And she said, what is the what and why do I want to do it? What is my want and why do I want to do it? That was the question you asked earlier.
Yes. So you want to understand what it is you want to do, and more importantly, why you want to do it. It's always important to understand your why. And sometimes your why is, I've got bills to pay. And that's okay, because we all have that point in time. But if you understand why you're doing something, then the journey makes a whole lot more sense. So if my why is, I want to do this thing because it's going to allow me to serve, it's going to allow me to do whatever it is that's my heart desire and where my spirit leads me, then as you have to take potentially detours, or you have to step back to step forward, as long as you are focused on what you're doing and why you're doing it, those detours on the journey make perfect sense because they are aligned with your plan. But if you don't understand what you're doing and why you're doing it, those little things that try to throw us off course can really put us off course permanently because we weren't focused. We weren't focused, we weren't clear, we weren't committed to what we said we wanted and why we wanted.
It comes, I keep thinking about this term that they used to say, a jack of all trades and a master of none.
Mm-hmm.
And I have so many people who come to me and say, well, why you should be doing this with the station, you should be doing that, and you should be doing this. And it goes back to that thing, a jack of all trades, but a master of none. And sometimes to master something, it takes longer
It does.
than to be a jack of all trades.
It does. There was something else she said yesterday. It was like mastery is money. Right now, mastering your craft, mastery is money because people are looking for mastery. Mastery is money. Gold, I'm telling you. Mastery is money. This woman is phenomenal.
Say that again.
Mastery is money. Isn't that
Because
crazy?
if you're mastering what you're doing, that's in high demand right now.
That's
Because
in
people
high
want
demand.
stuff that people
They
don't
want stuff they can count on. Good
Yes.
morning, Houston. They want things they can count on. They want people they can count on. Mastery is money. Ricky Hughes, I'm telling you.
You've been asked to expound on alignment.
Alignment. Okay, so when we talk about being aligned, and I talk about this all the time, whether it's in a career or in your job or in your personal life, when things are out of alignment, that means that what you say, your words can be out of alignment. What you say and what you do are not congruent. So you may say, you know what? I am going to make sure that no matter what happens, I'm always going to be on time. I'm always going to make sure that I show up prepared. But every time you show up somewhere, you're never on time and you're never prepared. That's out of alignment. Not only out of alignment for you and what you said you want, but it begins to be out of alignment for other people. So you're telling them, your words are saying, oh yeah, time is important to me. I'm never going to be late. I'm always going to be prepared. But that's not how you show up. And people will believe your behavior and your actions more than they do your words. The deeper thing about alignment is if you're not aligned in your spirit around what you're trying to do, that's what creates problems in your energy. So for example, when I first left corporate, so I've been doing HR for a very long time. I knew without a doubt I did not want to go be somebody's HR person. Ever. I don't want to do that again. But what happened is my language was, I don't want to, I'm never gonna, that's not what I want, all that kind of stuff, right? But here's the reality. I am really good at what I do. I am an exceptional HR person because I'm different. I come from the business side and happen to have exceptional HR skills. But because I was telling myself, no, I'm not doing HR, I'm not being this person, that's not what I'm going to do, I got to be out of alignment with the service that I wanted to provide. Because my goal was, I want to be of service because I don't want any other woman to go to work or come home from work and think she's crazy. And I don't want any new business owner to make a mistake that's going to cause them to write a huge check because they didn't understand the HR processes. And so while I was sitting in that, I don't want to, I'm not doing, never again, I was getting out of alignment with what my real purpose and my real skill and my real gifts were, aligned with my desire to serve. And so as I kept sitting and trying to build this business, things just weren't working. Like I was putting stuff out, but it wasn't working. And I did design this kind of online HR thing, but it really didn't connect. And because I wasn't committed, I wasn't aligned, my spirit and my head were disconnected. And when I finally sat back and said, here's the deal. My goal is to serve, and to serve with excellence with the gifts that I have been given, with the education that I've given myself, the experience that I have, all that kind of stuff. That's my goal. And if I'm going to do that at the core, that's my why is to serve, because I don't want people to be in pain and I don't want them to make costly mistakes when they don't have to, if I can prevent that. If I stay in my why, that means creating this online product and doing webinars around some of this stuff actually ends up being something that I'm excited about now, because it's about the service. It's not about doing HR. It's not about doing HR. It happens to be an HR vehicle, but what I'm doing is serving and helping to alleviate pain, helping to get other people focused, helping to remind people that they are not crazy, that they are worthy, that they are skilled, that they have a voice and they have power. I said I'm going to change my LinkedIn to say I am an empowerment enthusiast, which is true. I am an empowerment enthusiast. You got power. You have a voice. You can speak truth to power. We all have that ability, and we kind of give it away sometimes. So that's what I mean by alignment. What are you pushing against, especially if you're feeling a lack of energy, if you're feeling disconnected, if you're feeling upset and frustrated? Something isn't aligned. Something is not connected to your true heart's desire. And you need to sit with that, because you need to understand, do I need to make a complete change? Do I need to completely disconnect? Or do I need to make a plan that then ultimately gets me to my heart's desire? And because I know where I'm going, I can take these deviations without it throwing me completely off kilter. Did that make sense? Did that answer the question?
Is that when you find out that something is not aligned, could it be just a small tweak that you have to make?
Absolutely. Alignment doesn't necessarily mean you have to completely pivot. You don't necessarily have to, as they say, throw the baby out with the bathwater. Sometimes it just means sometimes it just may mean you need to pause. Because what you feel is unaligned is really, it's not the thing that you're doing that's not aligned. It's your thoughts about it that are unaligned. Just like me. My thoughts about HR were not aligned with my desire and my spirit and my gift and my push and my God wink to serve. Because it's not about HR, and service is not about me. It's not about me. It's about what people need and what can I bring as a solution that I have a unique set of skills to do. Because there are a lot of people who do HR. There are a lot of people who coach. There are a lot of people who produce. But no one does it like you. No one. And that means I'm going to be great for some people, and other people will be like, oh, ugh, no thank you. Which works, right? Because we can't be all things to all people, and we shouldn't try to be. That's the other thing when you get all crazy, when you're talking about things being misaligned. Jerry said it earlier. When you're trying to be all things to all people, jack of all trades, master of none. That's another place around misalignment. You're just throwing stuff out there to try to figure out what works. Now, that's not to say that sometimes you don't test things and experiment. Absolutely. That's one way we learn. That's one way we grow. That's one way we get really good. You know, testing ads, right? Testing copy. There's good things about that. But you need to pay attention to, are you just unfocused, or are you really trying to test something? Or are you telling yourself you're testing something which really is unfocused? You've got to be real with you if you're going to get aligned.
That's good. You said it earlier too. When we practice our trade, our gift, and you actually get paid for that. When you become an expert in what you do, people come after and want what you do. Because I said the other day on Facebook, I said, my prayer has always been, let me never get so broke that I can't give away what I was meant to give away. Meaning, there's a passion that I have for certain things, and then there's things that I'll do because I know that it pays me.
Exactly.
But once you perfect what you're good at, it will pay you, and then you can really fund your passion.
Absolutely.
And I think a lot of times we get out of line and out of sync because we're trying to do our passion, but we're so hungry and we need to be paid that it'll take us away from our why we're doing it.
If you pursue the dollar first, you'll never get to your why. Now, there's probably 1% of the population that their why is the dollar. So I'm not talking about them, right? For most people, if you pursue the dollar first, you'll never get to your why. Because pursuing the dollar is going to encourage you. I won't say make you, because we all have free will and we all make choices. Pursuing the dollar first will encourage you to make decisions you might not otherwise make. And to say yes to things you might otherwise say no to. Simply because of the dollar. And not all money is good money.
And miss out on some things you were meant to have.
Exactly.
Because there were some things that I made sure I didn't pursue the dollar. I did it out of good faith.
Yes.
But it connected me to something else.
Exactly.
That covered the bill.
Exactly. And those things, that's like serendipity, right? Because, like I said, I'm doing my thing in October, and there's some bonuses I'm going to give away. And they're pretty expensive, right? Because they cost me money to do these things. However, and I'm not giving them away like a lot of people say, well, you give stuff away because then people will buy. Well, now that's just psychology of sales, right? You give away your best, people will buy the rest. And for me, the things that I'm choosing to give are because I truly know that when we do that raffle and that person wins whatever the bonus is, that was meant for them, and there's something that I have that I am meant to share with them. And in that moment, they need that. And in that moment, it is my duty to serve. Because when you are in service, prosperity comes. I believe that. When you are in service, prosperity comes. When you are doing it because you want to do good, because you want to give back. And I cannot wait for my business to really be 7 figures. Because I want to seriously be giving back. I'm giving back now, but I want to continue to give back and continue to push things and really support some causes that are important to me. And that takes money. But that idea of really being aligned with your why and your what is critical for you to be able to make the right decisions for the path you want to pursue. If you say you want to be the queen, well, one, you probably need to be a place that has a queen. Or if you're not in a place that has a queen, you probably need to get there and then marry somebody who's going to get you access to the throne, right? Because that's how that works. So understand what it is you have desire to do, and then what are you willing to do to get it? What are you willing to do to get it? Because there's some things we're just not willing to do the work. And we just have to own that. And that's sometimes, period, I'm not willing to do that to get that, period. And sometimes it's like, I'm just not willing to do that right now, or I can't do that right now, or that's going to have to wait. And that's okay too. I believe in giving yourself grace. You just got to own why you are doing and why you are saying what you're doing and saying. Because you might be able to fool other people, but you can't fool yourself.
Mm-mm.
So be honest with you about the reasons. So that then when you begin to make decisions, because we all make choices and we are free to make those choices, but we are not free from the consequences of those choices. So then when something happens, both intended and unintended, you can at least go back to, but this is why I did that. And this is what I expected. I didn't expect this, but this is how I'm going to respond to it because I did this on purpose. I did this thing, I took this action, I bought this thing, whatever, on purpose. Because it was aligned with where I'm trying to go. Did that answer the alignment question? I hope so.
Tawana, did that answer the alignment question? Because she's very vocal, and if it didn't, she'd be like, this is crap.
Okay.
That answered the alignment question.
Okay.
But you say something, too, about giving, because we can get frustrated if we don't see the return on that give. Let's say you've got a craft and you're doing something and you're giving it, you're being of service, but you did say, I want to be of service. I want to be able to help someone along the way. But if it doesn't generate what you secretly really want, you give in. How
You
do you
do.
retain?
And some of that is about patience, which is not my superpower.
She said yes.
And some of that, oh great. Some of that is about being clear on what we said we wanted. That's the other thing we talked about yesterday on this virtual event is you've got to get really clear. And that's what I said earlier too. You've got to get really clear on what you want and why you want it. Really, like deep in your soul clear. Because when you are clear like that, things begin to manifest. Things begin to appear to align with that desire. You begin to move in the direction of that desire. Things begin to come your way. So as Jerry said, when you're in service and you're serving, you're giving things away, you're giving of yourself, you're giving of your time, you're giving of your assets. There are some times when we're like, well, dang, when is something going to come back? And how is that going to come back? But I'm telling you, I am a witness. If you are giving because it is important to give, because you're trying to be in service, because you see a problem for which you have the solution, it always comes back to you.
Can I please say this? This
Yes.
is somebody. I said that this morning. These jokers didn't do what I asked them to do. I asked 3 different people that I know to do music. I need a theme song for something that I'm doing. And I'm like, they didn't do what I asked them to do. And I just, man, this is disturbing. Why did I check my inbox and somebody I didn't even think about, nobody I even asked to do it, said, I don't know if you would like this, but I think you need a new theme song. And they sent it and it was perfect.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. We often ask for things and then we put so many parameters around it. Women, I want a man. He's got to be 6'5". He's got to be muscular. He's got to have a job that makes 7 figures. He's got, all this stuff, right? We want the purple squirrel. And then a guy shows up who may have all of that stuff. And we're all in. But the other stuff he's got is he's crazy. So we got what we asked for, but we weren't very clear. We weren't clear on why we wanted what we said we wanted. That's just one that we as women do that. Because we all have a list, right, when we're young. Yeah, I want to marry a doctor. I want to marry a lawyer. Because we're trained to do that. I think women now are not so much that way. But when I was young, that was kind of thing. What is he going to look like? And I always remember in Waiting to Exhale, what is that line? I asked God to send me blah, 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 all these things. And he sent me, and she named like 4 names, like Ricky, Bobby, Joe, and Steve. Next time I need to be more specific, right? So it's the same thing with when you are setting your intentions for what you want to do for your life, what you want to do for your business, what you want to do for your career, what you want to do for your relationship. And maybe it's just a sister circle. I remember I had a friend reach out to me and say, hey, this is something I really need. I need this. I need this group. I need a sister circle. And I remember thinking at the time, now that's interesting because I was just thinking about that. And so that need that I had not necessarily expressed out loud, but as I was going on my solo retreat that year and thinking about what I needed and who I wanted to surround myself with and what those relationships looked like, all of a sudden there was someone else who was kind of in that same space, and we were able to do this kind of sister circle thing, right? So understand that as much as I'm not a big manifester, people love that word, I'm not a big manifester, I do believe in divine guidance, and I do believe that what's for you is for you. And we have to be clear with the desires of our heart. We have to be clear with what we want and why we want it. Even if that why in the moment is something that is very superficial and materialistic. We just need to know that and own that. Because it's not always going to be that way, but there are times in our lives when we're like, you know what, I need this because my air conditioner broke down or whatever.
You know, I thought when I became a Christian that I was going to have to change my declaration. When I was little, I used to say, I want to be famous. But I had no clue why I wanted to be famous. I thought I just wanted people to know my name and see me in lights and cameras.
Right.
But I said, I can't say that anymore. And the Lord was like, yes, you can. Because now you understand what you want. You want influence.
Yes.
And because influence can open doors for you and others that your finances can't do.
Right.
And it'll make you be able to pick up a phone and make something happen that needs to happen quickly, so we don't have to change our declarations. We just now need to know why did we want that.
Yes. That's it. That is it. Because here's the thing. There can be changes over time, right? Like exactly what you want may change. It might get clearer. And why you want something changes a lot.
Yes.
Because our lives change a lot over time. You know, careers, kids, jobs, job losses, you know, disasters. You know, there's so much that happens in life that our why can change over time. And the details of our what can change, right? Like we still have the big what, the big desire of our heart, but all the little stuff along the way may change because life happens. But even with all of that, if you are willing to really dig deep into those desires of your heart and understand what it is and why you have it, just like Jerry said, I always wanted to be famous, but was it fame or was it influence? That's about maturity. That's about time. That's about giving yourself the grace to sit quietly and say, what is it really? What is it really? Because as an influencer, you're going to get the fame and the lights, but the impact is different as an influencer than just being famous. Because anybody can be famous, almost. But not everybody who's famous is an influencer.
That's good. Say that again, Lord.
I'm just saying, anybody can be famous, but not everybody who's famous can be an influencer is an influencer. So as you look at these things that you want to do and why you want to do them, that why becomes your anchor. I mean, you know, Jerry told the story of this show, and one of the things I was thinking about yesterday, because again, I'm going to be talking to these women on this event about the show. And when you know why, what and why, then you also are open when things come along. Because you heard me say earlier, I love doing this show. I love this. I love it. I love spending this time with you guys. I love hanging out with Jerry because she cracks me up. I love it. I love being able to have a platform to tell people you're not crazy and that it's okay. Because we all feel like that. And I don't want anybody to think that they don't have a choice or don't have options. Because the world will tell you you don't have a choice. The world will tell you you don't have options. And you do. You always do. Even when times are tough, and you got to make a decision between eating or paying rent. That's still a choice. It's not necessarily a good choice, and it's not necessarily an easy choice, but it is a choice. And don't let anyone make you think you don't have choices. You are free to make any choice you want, including not making a choice at all, but that's a choice. And we are not free from the consequences of our choices. But as I was thinking about what I was going to tell these people today, the show did come up, and I said, you know, I said in 2019 I wanted to be more visible. That's all I said. Lord, I want to be more visible. Why do I want to be more visible? I want to be more visible because I want to serve more people. It wasn't because I want to be more visible because I want 5 million followers on Instagram and I want people reaching out to me so that they can pay me so I can. That wasn't it. I want to be more visible because I know by being visible, That builds credibility, which brings people to me in order for me to serve them. And if I am serving and serving in good faith and serving in my spirit and serving in my zone of genius, the prosperity will come. And the reason that hit me for this conversation I'm having today is the show was that. Because all I said was visibility. Lord, I want to be visible so that people can find me. More people can find me. More people can figure out who I am and how I can serve them so that I can serve them. Jerry P. Beasley shows up. Right? Well, actually, first, I get asked by someone in my network if I can go show up for a show with Adrian, who I didn't know. Right? The day before.
Wow.
And I said yes. Right? Wait for the yes. I said yes. Because everything in my spirit said no. But I was like, that's just fear. That's just laziness. That's just your introvert talking. You need to go do this show. I said yes. And here we are.
I like what you said before that. You said someone in your network
Yes.
who you were aligned with
Yes.
asked you would you come do Adrian's show,
Yes.
who was aligned with Attorney Hall, who was aligned with me.
Exactly.
So that, Tawana, goes back to proper alignment.
Exactly.
And sometimes we get out of alignment with certain people for whatever reason, not knowing
Right.
the connection came through the alignment.
Exactly. And you have to, we talked about this on a few shows as well. You got to understand who's in your circle. And in that piece of alignment, that also means you got to be willing to let folks go out of your circle. You got to be willing to let folks go. That doesn't mean you hate them. That doesn't mean you're angry. I can't remember who it is. Was it T.I. or Snoop Dogg or somebody? Maybe it was, actually it may have been Tupac, who said, you know, I don't wish you any ill will. I just don't want you eating at my table.
Yeah.
It's Tupac. Yeah, it was Tupac.
It means
and I got that wrong.
Tupac said, it doesn't mean I don't want to see you eat, just
Exactly.
not at my table.
Exactly. So it's not that I knew I was gonna butcher it, but you got the gist.
You don't know these folks.
See, I don't know these folks. So it's they're not in my network. Right? They are not in my network. Right? Yeah, they're not. I am not influencing them by any stretch of the imagination. But that's the kind of thing we talk about is, if you are getting aligned, if you are getting clear, that ability to say yes to stuff, your yes will be a yes. And as Ricky Hughes said, just know when it's a yes. And if it doesn't feel like a yes, then it's a no. Pretty clear. Just understand that if it's not a yes, is that fear talking? Or is that really something else that's not aligned? Because alignment, I'm telling you guys, I had this revelation, and I think I've done it before, but it just really hit me for some reason. That idea of alignment is absolutely critical to success. And I don't mean just financial success or business success or career success. I mean personal success. Personal feeling that you are where you're supposed to be, doing what you want to do, how you want to do it. It is so important to be aligned. And even more important to know when you're not aligned. To have your kind of antenna up, your early warning signals that say, ooh, that doesn't feel good. That's not right. And we all have that gut. Well, most of us have that gut. We just don't always listen to it. We don't always listen to it. And most of the time, that's a problem. Every once in a while, you don't listen to your gut, and it's like, ooh. But 99.9% of the time, if you don't listen to your intuition, something's going to come back and say, ooh, I should have paid attention to that. I should have paid attention to that. So be sure, as you are moving through and trying to decide what you want to do and why you want to do it, is that aligned? Is it aligned with your zone of genius? Have you taken it out of context because you've told yourself, because words matter, you have told yourself, I don't want to do that. That's not what I want. That doesn't look like I want it to look. She's not who I thought she was. He's not who I thought she was. The house isn't big enough. The car's not big enough. The yard's not big enough. The egg chairs aren't ready. Whatever. Right?
Okay.
I had to go there in this group. Right? I like an egg chair. I hate an egg chair. Right? Whatever.
Oh my God.
So understand that you really, by having that, giving yourself that grace and giving yourself that time to be sure that you are not telling yourself stories that are untrue, or moving yourself in directions because of what you think is important because someone else told you it was. And I don't mean mentorship. I don't mean people giving you advice. I mean truly, here's what everybody else is doing, so I must have to do that too.
Mm-hmm.
Be sure that as you are deciding how you're going to work, how you're going to live, how you are going to exist, that it is aligned with who you are and how you want to serve. If you want to serve. Not everybody wants to serve, and that's okay. But whatever it is that's your zone of genius, make sure that what you are doing, that everything you execute aligns with that goal that keeps you in that zone of genius.
Can I say this? Because I just saw someone who
Mm-hmm.
popped on. Her name is Trisha Kyle. And I saw her on Facebook, but it was on somebody else's page.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And she was singing. And I'm like, oh my God, she's amazing. So
Mm-hmm.
I ended up getting her to come and be a guest on the show.
Yes.
But while I'm planning to do this production and get some things in order, the character that normally plays this role is an African American character.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But I got the yes with her in my spirit, and I'm like, but she's Caucasian.
Mm-hmm.
And then he was like, but it aligns with the mission.
It
Just
aligns with
because
the
you're
mission.
used to it being this way,
Right.
doesn't mean it can't be this way as long as it's still aligned
Right.
with the mission. So when you
Exactly.
say that, it goes back to proper alignment again.
Yes.
I saw her on somebody else's page who I admire and
Right.
respect.
Right.
And then that made me think, okay, she got to be good if they connected.
Exactly.
Because that's important. Can you
It's
talk about that?
important.
Because that's
Oh,
important.
it's important. So, just like you as an individual are not necessarily going to align yourself with everybody, you want to know when you're meeting somebody new, who are they aligned with?
That's good.
Because if they're aligned with folks that you wouldn't align yourself with, then you might just want to think about that again. That doesn't mean you'll say no necessarily right off the bat, but you just need to understand what that connection is. Because sometimes that connection is superficial too, because people are who they are. But what do they say? What do they say? I will know how successful you are by the 5 people closest to you, who you surround yourself with.
Mm-hmm.
So who you surround yourself with and who the people you're connected to are connected to says something. And if that's also not aligned, you might want to examine that. And we have, if we are fortunate, we have people and friends and acquaintances from all over. Because that's the other piece of that. Not everybody needs to be a friend. Not everybody needs to be in your inner circle. Not everyone needs to be your ride or die. There is a power in having lots of acquaintances. In having people that you can at least reach out to and say, hey, we met on blah, 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 blah. Here's this thing going on. Do you know somebody? Or I thought of you because we met at this thing and I thought this would be good, right? So acquaintances are good too, because there's also an opportunity to share and to serve. As Ricky Hughes said on the call yesterday, somebody asked her, what do you tell people and how do you mentor people and all that? And she said, my thing is when people call me all the time and say, hey, Ricky, will you mentor me? She says, okay, but what are you going to do for me? And she said, and the reason I say that is because when you think about it, we've talked about this before, when you think about mentoring relationships, those are two-way streets. Those are two-way streets. It's not just one way, just like a conversation. It should be a two-way conversation. Mentoring is not just one way. It's not just out. It's not just into us. But what can we do to add to the relationship? And so it's not necessarily bad that you have a lot of people around you, or that there are a lot of people that know, or a lot of people that know you. But don't automatically put value in numbers. That's why Instagram and Facebook and TikTok and everything else and YouTube, and that's why companies finally started realizing, oh, wait a minute. If the numbers are so important, we can make these algorithms that make people think they got more numbers. And then other companies got savvy and said, but did you grow that organically, or did you buy those followers? Did you buy those likes? Right? And why Instagram at some point, which they haven't done it yet, they were going to stop putting the number of likes that you have or something like that. Like you couldn't see likes anymore, because they were seeing a lot of bullying, right? Especially kids. A lot of bullying by, oh, well, nobody liked your stuff. And they like my stuff. And, all that silliness.
Yeah.
So It's okay to surround yourself with a lot of people, because by getting different perspectives, you begin to solidify your own or challenge your own. However, don't get numbers confused with quality.
When you said that, I said this the other day on Facebook on my Holy Ghost drive-by. He's blocking illegal taggers. Because in the world of social media,
right,
people who don't support you, don't even have like you, can still tag themselves to you to get their point across to your audience. And there's a lot of stuff that I don't let fly because I'm like, no, we don't connect like that.
Right.
Because I personally am not a tagger. So is that the same way? Because it takes you longer to build it organically. But at least when you take the time to build organically, you know what you really have.
You do. You really do. And you know, and it's interesting. Our coaches tell us all the time, don't be surprised. People, just because people aren't saying anything doesn't mean they're not watching. Just because people don't say anything doesn't mean they're not watching. I got 2 people reach out to me to do something that I worked with 20 years ago. Had no idea. Now, I was connected to them. We hadn't talked literally in 20 years. Had no idea. Oh, but hey, I got this thing going on and I immediately thought of you because I've been following your stuff and it's so good and blah, 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 blah. That's what I'm talking about. Keep doing you. Do your message. Put out your message. Do it because you are trying to serve. Do it because there's a bigger purpose. Build your product and sell it because it solves a problem for somebody. Do things intrinsically because you're passionate about it. People pay for passion. That's the other thing Ricky said.
Say it again.
People pay for passion. It's kind of like my proper prior planning prevents poor performance. People pay for passion. So if you're passionate about it, people will see that. And if you're excited, they're going to be excited. And you want excited people. You want committed people. You don't want just numbers. You want quality. You want to be aligned. And when you're aligned, then the people around you, the people that come to you, are also going to be aligned with what you're trying to do. I'm just saying.
And when we talk about alignment, could it have been, and I brought this up on Holy Ghost Drive-By, but it was perfect in that season, but in this new season, it's different. Because could it have been that it was good in that the alignment that you have with this person or this system
Absolutely.
was good in that season, but in the next season you need something totally different?
Right.
Does it make you enemies, as you said earlier?
Exactly. It doesn't make you enemies. And here's the thing. People come into your life for a reason, a season, or a lifetime. And so there's some people that are just seasonal. There are some people that come in for a reason, either a reason on their behalf or a reason on yours. So not always is the person in your life for you. You may be in their life for them. And then you got the lifetime folks. And quite frankly, not all the lifetime folks are necessarily ride or die either. I'm just saying. Right? Because you got family that's lifetime. So,
that's true.
So just saying, right? So we got to be clear on those things. But if you are clear, if you are without a doubt clear, even when you start getting kind of waffling, give yourself the grace and the time and the space to get clear again. When you're clear, everything that comes to you will be aligned, or the stuff that's not will be clearly not aligned, and you'll be able to make a decision.
One quick thing. When you said about clarity, Attorney Benjamin Hall we did a show, the Ben Hall Legal Hour, and he brought up the spirit of jealousy. And he was talking about something that the president was doing. But he said, I have to admit that I'm jealous. And he said, I have to admit that, and I can say this publicly because he said it on the show.
Right.
He said, I have to admit that I have a jealousy against another lawyer that I went to school with, and we came up in the ranks together. But he has achieved this one thing that I've always wanted to achieve, and I haven't been able to achieve it, and I don't know why I can't achieve it, and it bothers me that I can't achieve it, and I don't want to feel this way. And I said, but have you ever thought that it would be hard to say that you haven't achieved what he achieved when your purposes are different? What if you would have gotten this in the law realm? You wouldn't have this over here at the radio station. You wouldn't have met a great person like Jerry.
Right.
And you would not be able to serve
exactly
in a different capacity
exactly
and on a different level than you would have if you went the same direction.
Absolutely.
And sometimes we're envious or jealous of stuff that has nothing to do with our actual purpose.
Yes, ma'am. Amen and amen. Yes. And not only are we jealous, but we can also be stubborn. Like I was talking about me earlier. I don't want to do that. I'm not going to do. Not only do I not want to, I refuse to do that. And look what I'm doing, right? Because I had to pause and say, but wait a minute. I say I don't want to do that, but that doesn't mean I have to do what I was doing before. I can use the skills that I used to do that to do something else.
What?
Right? Repurpose. Repurpose. You don't just repurpose furniture, honey. You repurpose your skills too. That's what they call them, transferable skills. I'm just saying.
How do you repurpose it?
So I'm not going to go back in, Lord willing, I'm not going to go back into an organization and be a chief human resources officer. But I can keep small businesses from making big mistakes that cost them big money by using the skills as a CHRO to help them. So I'm still in HR. I'm just serving in a different capacity. So instead of me saying, I don't want to, it can't, and it took forever. I mean, I was blocking my blessings because I refused to do something. I'm just saying. So give yourself not only jealousy of something, because that's really good. We get envious of what other people have. Mm-hmm. That's a scarcity mindset. Because there's plenty. It's a scarcity mindset. There is plenty for everybody. There's plenty for everybody. You just got to decide what it is that you want. Because if it's for you, if it's meant for you, it'll be for you. Mm. And don't keep yourself from gaining something or getting something or meeting someone or having an experience because you've decided that somebody else's experience was better or more important or more valuable. Because their experience is their experience. Just like your vision, if other people don't get it, as Lisa Nichols says, don't worry about that other people don't get it because God didn't give it to them. He gave it to you.
That's right.
So get aligned, get really clear and aligned with what you want and why you want it. And we're going to all have those moments where we're envious and, oh my God, I can't believe, I'm on with all these women who have built these amazing businesses. I'm like, why can't I do that? Mm-hmm. Why can't I, get off my butt and do all this social media? Why can't, you know what? Because that's not what I'm meant to do right now. Mm-hmm. That is not in the plan for me right now. And I had to take a pause and say, stop it. You are exactly where you are supposed to be in this moment. And the things that you need keep coming to you. Sit still. Sit still. Remain aligned. Remain in that place of abundance and opportunity as opposed to scarcity and challenge. Get aligned with the overall purpose, which for me is to serve.
That's good.
That's what we got to do, y'all.
We got to serve. So
strategy is important, but alignment, that's the foundation. That's the foundation. Because no matter what you do, if it's not aligned, you might still be able to be successful, but man, it's going to be hard. It's going to be a lot of work, a lot of energy. And when you are in alignment, it just happens. It's not that it's easy, but it's not overwhelmingly difficult. It's not soul-sucking, energy draining when it's aligned.
That's good.
There is peace in the fatigue when it's aligned.
You just said something very important right there. All of you, what you said was important. But when you said there's peace in the fatigue, because we'll think that if there's some fatigue, it can't be him.
Right.
There's going to be fatigue,
absolutely,
but there's still peace in the fatigue.
There is peace in the fatigue. When Ricky Hughes got done yesterday, I had this overwhelming sense of just peace. Like, I got this because I am aligned with where I'm supposed to be going. And now, because my brain was then peaceful, I was like, okay, so here's the things that I'm going to stop doing and I'm going to find somebody else to do. And here are the things that I'm going to keep doing that are in my zone of genius. And then stuff happened and my mind got messy again. But I'm going to get back there. But for a moment, I was peaceful and focused, right? So my goal for you guys is to take the time to get aligned. Take the time to get aligned. It's really important. You will be glad that you did. It will give you much more peace, much more calm, much more focus. Much more focus. And you will be able to stay in your zone of genius. Which if you have not read, and I keep saying that, but if you have not read the book, The Big Leap by Gay Hendricks, do that. He talks about that zone of genius. All right. With that, don't forget to save the date. October 12th, 13th, 14th. 5 Secrets to Rebuilding Your Team. Career Strategy Edition. 6 to 7:30. It's going to be a Zoom, live on Zoom. And so all the ads and stuff will start next week, so you'll be able to register. $97 for the 3 days. I'm giving away some juicy stuff. So come on and join me. There will be replays. So even if you register but can't attend some of them, I will have replays up for a period of time. And do your census if you have not done that. Delaware, go vote. Register. If you know somebody who's not registered, go get them registered. Make a plan for voting day, November 3rd.
And before we leave, I want to shout out to all these places that is in our territory.
Yes.
Of course, we have Houston, but they say you never shout us out.
Right.
St. Louis, Missouri, Kansas City, Denver, Dallas, Fort Worth, Austin, Springfield, MO, Los Angeles, San Antonio, Indianapolis, Johannesburg,
Yeah.
Frankfurt, Maine, Freeport, Philippines, and United Kingdom.
Oh! See, that's what I'm talking about, y'all. Thank you for being here. I hope you enjoyed it. Please send comments, because I always, again, it's kind of divine download what I'm going to talk about the next week. But if there is something you want me to address that you want me and Jerry to chit-chat about, let us know. Send it to me on my Facebook. Send it to Jerry on her Facebook or on the KCOH page. Let us know, and we will get after it. We'll talk about it on Tuesday. Oh, in New York. Hey, New York. So thank y'all for being here. We will see you next Tuesday. Getting closer to the birthday. All right. Thank you, Cincinnati.
All right, guys. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for